If you like my videos and want to support me on Patreon, please click the link below. Thank you.
Warning. This video contains mature themes. Viewer discretion is advised.
When talking about violence and gore in video games, the one game that usually springs to mind is Mortal Kombat. What if I were to tell you there is a game that made the original Mortal Kombat look like Little House on the Prairie? This game didn't just push the envelope in terms of moral decency, it slashed right through it with a meat cleaver. No, I'm not talking about Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's Sweet 16 License to Drive. I'm talking about Chiller, the morbidly obscene light gun game from Exidy. What was the reasoning behind the creation of the most violent arcade game of the 1980s? Let's find out as we slash into the history of Chiller. The year is 1982, and the four-man development staff at arcade company Exidy is at a bit of a crossroads. Now, even though the company had been around since 1976 with the original controversial game Death Race, in recent years, other companies such as Sega and Atari had passed them by in terms of game design and hardware. They could either design a new motherboard, which was costly both in terms of time and money, or they could retrofit their existing motherboard and turn it into a unique experience. They added a light gun sensor replacing the joystick, which turned out to be an excellent choice because it brought about a high point in the company's history. During this period, the company would release Crossbow, Cheyenne, and Catch-22. Despite turning out some truly great arcade games, the video game crash of 1983 was already a couple of years old and the company was in dire straits. They needed something to generate publicity and controversy similar to what they did back in 1976 with Death Race. The development team were told to go crazy and make the game as sick and twisted as humanly possible. Similar to the development of scary movies, the envelope kept getting pushed further and further. They were told they had 15 to 30 seconds to hook the player, which is why the first two levels are so different than the rest of the game. The first level is titled the Torture Chamber, where there are plenty of prisoners to maim. Each one is strung up in what looks to be a medieval castle. There is an Iron Maiden, a guillotine, and each prisoner is shackled to the wall. This is when the fun begins. The gore is finely detailed, meaning you can shoot off appendages, their faces, their skin, whatever floats your boat, you sick bastards. Now you may be thinking, there have been gruesome light gun games that have been released since then, including the House of the Dead. The big difference is, those were zombies that were looking to do you harm, and you were just protecting yourself. In this game, the characters are tied up and are in no way presenting any physical harm. This brings the creep factor up to a whole nother level. The second level is called the Rack Room, where various NPCs, or non-playable characters, are strapped to various wooden racks for your enjoyment. After these two macabre levels, the game shifts into a traditional light gun game where you have to take out ghouls and zombies in a haunted house. Now here we are 33 years later, and games such as Mortal Kombat 11 have been released, along with their excessive, violent, and disgusting fatalities. However, just looking at this game, even by today's standards, still brings a quiver to my liver. It's amazing this game did not cause an uproar back in 1986 upon its release. Now, a game this violent and gory surely wouldn't have any home conversions now, would it? It absolutely did, and it appeared on the #1 home console that was also the most family-friendly. Now, how in the world did this game get released on the NES, and how did Nintendo actually approve it? The answer is, they didn't. The game was released by American Game Cartridges in the US, who was not an official licensee. Now, even though the game wasn't officially endorsed by Nintendo, the game was still censored somewhat. You can no longer shoot the flesh off the bodies, and there are not as many limbs scattered throughout the levels. It still is a light gun game though, so you get to use your NES zapper with it. The controversy the company wanted to create was non-existent, and with declining interest in arcades across the country, Exidy quietly closed its doors in 1989. And that does it for the history of Chiller. Not many cabinets were sold due to the extreme subject matter, so if you happen to see one of these cabinets and your stomach can take it, be sure to check it out. It's not a great game, but it is a morbid curiosity for a lot of people. If you like my videos and want to support me on Patreon, please click the link below. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my content. It's the only way my channel can grow. Thank you so much for watching.